Todd Danielson here, the editorial director of Informed Infrastructure. Today I'm in Amsterdam at the 2025 Year in Infrastructure event for Bentley Systems. Today I'm with Andy Rahden?
Andy Rahden.
Andy Rahden. I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the Vice President of Solution Engineering and Services here at Bentley Systems. And what we do is we engage with our accounts throughout the globe. And we engage with them in a way that help them understand what technology we offer. We also implement those products into what they're doing every single day, and we're super excited about how we've been progressing over the last few years. Yeah.
So we do like to see that people are interacting with Andrew. Specifically, how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, so we have a series of accounts that really are globally focused. When you think about our business, infrastructure is a global initiative, right? There's no element of one of our accounts working in just one region. So when we look at some of our largest accounts, they're working in complex ecosystems with government functions in asset management, design, planning, construction. And so our teams work with our accounts at a global scale, really understanding what our customers are doing every single day or trying to do to accomplish their goals. And that might include things like improving their design processes. That might include getting into an asset management space. That might be analyzing a bridge. And so those variety of functions are things that we offer from a technology perspective, and we align our solutions to those needs of our customers every single day, and we love doing it.
Those are a lot of examples there. How do you decide, is it on a case-by-case basis of what of those things you talked about certain clients need to learn about?
Yeah, so one of the things that we do formally with an account is to understand more of what they're trying to accomplish from a goal perspective, is we want to understand their business. And so we do what we refer to as a discovery. And through a discovery process, we understand what their business goals are, what they're trying to accomplish from a financial perspective, all the way down to what they need to accomplish technically to generate those outcomes they want to financially long term. So through a discovery, we can understand what those goals are and potentially what products or solutions we offer to fulfill those requirements. And as a result of that, we help implement those solutions, maybe provide training on how to use the technology, because it might be new, especially as you start moving into the world of artificial intelligence or different analysis tools. And it's pretty exciting, but it also helps us align more effectively to what they're trying to accomplish.
So as your role as kind of a higher up, do you help discuss with your teams and what they need to do, or are you sometimes actually getting directly involved with some of these customer conversations?
Both, yeah. So one of the things that we do as here at Bentley is we're constantly involved in helping our teams internally progress their skill sets to be able to improve their interactions with our accounts to help them better solve their problems. And so we do that in a variety of ways. Here at YI, we're obviously sharing a variety of different technologies that we're offering that are more up to date than what we offered last year, right? But as we progress forward, we also train our internal staff on what technology we offer, keeping them up to date, helping them understand and improve their skill sets with things like artificial intelligence or how to use basic functions of our products. And we do that in a variety of different scenarios, everything from YI to the Bentley Tech Summit to the different Illuminates that we hold globally throughout the year. And those different engagements really allow our internal employees and staff to progress their skill sets to be kind of a more cutting edge than they would have been otherwise. And we're excited about offering that benefit to all of them.
You mentioned how some of the technologies are new here at the event. Obviously, it's a good reason to do that. For those who can't make it to the event, can you kind of summarize what you think are the highlights of the new unveilings and why that they're important and special?
Absolutely. So when we looked at just the last couple of days and some of the announcements that we've made, we were able to really highlight the importance and some of the most recent releases of our data platforms. Data is obviously a big focus when you move forward and kind of think through how our design tools work, how our construction tools work, and how our asset management tools work. So we announced some pretty significant announcements around Bentley Infrastructure Cloud and what that means from a data perspective. We announced the concept of being able to visualize geospatial data inside of those platforms inherently. We also announced concepts of being able to search information inside of those platforms, which, something like search has been very complicated and hard for different organizations to accomplish. And with artificial intelligence, we're going to be able to visualize inside of all of those different files and all the metadata related to those files where something might be or where a project is. So we're really, really excited about that. We also excited some really exciting announcements around Synchro Plus and the concepts of how visualization becomes more real. We announced the concept of our Gaussian spots technology, which is really cool because you're not only visualizing information, but you're visualizing that information with accuracy. A series of open roads announcements and different applications as far as features and functions and working tandemly within different products. And that's really exciting because as you work in different environments or different locations across the world, that means that multiple people can work in one environment at one time, which is unheard of in the design world. So we're really excited about what that means as we progress forward. And there's so many other things, but it's a little bit of a highlight of what we talked about this week.
No, there are other things. So let's hypothetically, let's say it's a small engineering firm who's familiar with Bentley products, but maybe they aren't on the mega project and the full suites. What are some of what do you think the top technologies that they should look into as kind of the entry levels toward getting themselves into a more technological and efficient system?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to the collaboration of data inside of our iTwin platform. Well, there's so many organizations that are working with so many different companies, and those different companies are working with so many different products. Bentley offers the technology to be able to bring all of those environments together. Bentley's platform is open, and what that really means is being able to work with a variety of different file formats to bring those together all in one environment. And when you're thinking about the collaboration of what that is, it's game-changing for a smaller organization really moving into the infrastructure space.
Can you just give a short example of what that might look like as far as the openness and how that can make their lives and their jobs easier?
Yeah, historically, you had to work in different platforms in order to navigate or to get through maybe the planning cycles or the design phases or the construction phases within the design process or all the way to asset management. Now what we're talking about doing is using a singular interface to manage the data, to visualize information inside of there, and not just visualize three-dimensional files, but all of the geospatial context across the environment, which means you can design in an as-built environment and build on top of it. And that improves the ability to communicate visually, especially for an engineer. I would say beyond being visual learners, being able to visualize not just clash detection, but what something looks like inside of an environment is game-changing to the aesthetics of something that we would design in a real-world condition. So those kind of visualizations and also interconnectivity between how you save or store data. We really are taking that out of the thought process of a designer so that it's not interfering with the design process, because back in the day you had to store V1, V2, V3 of a file. All that work and all that metadata is being stored in the background without having to think about it anymore, and that's pretty impactful to being able to focus on what matters most in the design, the safety, the elements of complexity of construction, and all of the ways that we're enhancing that ability as designers and engineers work in the product moving forward. So that's really a central aspect of what we're thinking about when we're creating our technology.
So with these open interfaces that can bring in a lot of different formats and files, what does that look like to them? Does it look like their engineering interface, or is it more like an internet web-looking kind of interface?
Yeah, singular interface. It's going to look very familiar to a way that worked inside of OpenRoads or the iTwin platform or inside of OpenSite Plus if people have been introduced to those concepts. So it really looks like a design interface, and the data management platforms are running seamlessly in the background so that you're not having to operate in different environments. Whereas before, you maybe had to open the design tool, the most familiar environment, looking at something three-dimensionally or two-dimensionally. Now you can look at all that information inside of one environment. You're not having to move between tools and technology, and you're really bringing together the concept of that environment. So really a design-like environment, and being able to visualize information on the screen in front of you is what that looks like.
Sure. So as your role in head of engineering, what are you hoping to get from an event like this? Where are you listening to? What feedback are you trying to get to try and do your job better?
Yeah, it's amazing to learn from our customers how they're using our technology, and that's really what YI is all about. And we do this in different venues. Like I mentioned, the Bentley Tech Summit that we continue to host moving forward, which is we're holding later this year in Berlin. We're really excited here, though, to learn how some of the most cutting edge processes that people have followed using our technology. Sometimes you build the technology and it gets used in so many different ways that maybe it's intentional or unintentional. And it's really cool to see how a designer or a firm or someone has utilized that technology to create massive progress in the infrastructure space. And so we learn from those individuals how they've utilized their technologies moving forward, and that's pretty impactful. It's inspiring. It also helps us, though, as we gather together our customers here, to hear directly from them, to gather and to learn what their needs are moving forward. And we host environments here where we're able to get together and collaborate with our customers directly, and we can hear from them and learn what kind of needs they have as they progress forward, in addition to sharing with them what we're doing. So that's very meaningful and pretty exciting and inspiring to get together here.
Is there like a specific example, maybe from a previous event or one of those other events you're talking about, like something specific that you heard from a customer that you then incorporated into a future version or something else that you were doing?
Yeah. I mean, when you look at what we're doing with Synchro Plus as an example, the technology and the concepts of visualization to be able to experience those real world environments and have accuracy in viewing. People want high-end resolution of what they're looking at, so that when they share that with the outside world or the public, they're able to articulate from a visual perspective what's going on. And so the concepts of why we would invest in something like Gaussian splats, or why we would be able to why we would put the work into developing the technology to be able to view it a certain way, or use simple things even like a view cube in the space, are things that are a result directly of our accounts and customers sharing with us how they use the technology or how they need to use the technology, and our application of our development teams putting that into practice, and then outputting what we're seeing that are announced here at the conference this week.
Okay, so from your perspective, how might advice you give to the other engineers out there who maybe aren't contributing to Bentley, just to contribute to their own company? What's the feedback that would be useful to someone in your role for them?
Yeah, we love to hear from our customers what technology they're desirous to have, and there's a few ways to do that. You can reach out to the teams that you work with. If you're within an organization, you can reach out to your account teams to engage with them and share with them some of your needs. One of the things we do here internally, especially for the teams that I manage, is we bring all of that feedback or that insight that we gather from the field. So if there's a specific feature that somebody wants to see inside the product, or they need the product to maybe work a specific way to accomplish a specific piece of functionality, or a new design intent that they want to approach, transferring that feedback to us in that format allows us to bring it back. We also use technology like AHA to gather information and insights. But I think what we want to hear from as we meet with customers is what their needs are. So being able to hear, we request that information, and in some cases that might come from some of the executives that we work with at our customers, but primarily we try to gather that information from our users. And so in our engagements with accounts, it's really important that they're able to share what their needs are as they progress, and that's something that we bring back to the product teams. We prioritize those tasks, and we implement that technology into our products like we're announcing this week. And that's a direct way of actually engaging from a human perspective on the needs of what our users and individuals really need inside of our products.
That was great. I learned a lot there, really insightful, and I know you're very busy.
Yeah.
So thank you for taking the time to come out and chat with me for a little bit.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Good luck with the rest of the event, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.